Genshin Impact is a massively popular game that came out almost 4 years ago now, and it is still continuing to gain new players all the time. And if you're wondering if it would be something for you, here's a few things to know before giving the game a try, or maybe you already started the game, but are on the fence on if you should sink more time into it. Since the game has been out for quite a few years at this point, there are some differences between the content at the start of the game and the more recent content added. Firstly, the length of the newest main missions, the Archon quests, are significantly longer than the Archon quest at the start of the game. Another big thing is generally the improved quality of the newer content added compared to the older stuff. The missions, cutscenes, and especially the world has seen a lot of improvements, and I can only imagine that it will continue to improve as the game goes on. A lot of quality of life improvements have also been made recently, and it seems like they have really started to care about what the community says. Genshin is what's called a gacha game. If you aren't familiar with those types of games, it's, without going into a lot of detail, a game in which you can do what's called pulling or wishing for various characters and weapons. And it's often the case that the game will try to get you to spend money to get the characters and weapons. It's no surprise that it has a bad reputation among the majority of people, as it seems kind of predatory, and not to mention pay to win, because it kinda is. But Genshin is far from the worst offender in the gacha game scene. In Genshin, it's very possible, with some effort and patience, to get a lot of the characters and weapons that you want, and it's very possible to be completely free to play and still achieve the same results as the people who pay money on the game, and sometimes ridiculous sums of money at that. The Genshin gacha system consists of a few banners that can be pulled on. There's currently 2 limited character banners that feature a limited 5-star character and 3 4-star characters, a standard banner that houses a multitude of standard 5-star characters, which is basically just a bunch of characters that have been picked to be in the standard banner and therefore won't show up on the limited banners. There's a weapon banner where the 2 characters on the limited banners, their weapons are. There's a beginner banner, but you can only do 20 pulls on it before it's gone, so we'll just move on for that one. And recently they've introduced a new banner called Chronicled Wish that shows up sometimes with a mix of limited and standard characters and weapons. You're probably going to be doing most of your pulling on the limited character banners. I made another video right here that goes into why that is the case, so watch that if you're curious. In some ways, the gacha system of Genshin actually benefits the game, and especially if you're free to play or a low spender, as you have to really prioritize the characters that you really want instead of just being able to get all of them, and you will therefore cherish the characters that you get a lot more than if you could just get all of them easily. At the start of playing the game, you can easily play the game for many hours a day, but as you start playing for longer, you will realize that playing for longer periods starts providing diminishing returns. As you complete a lot of the content in the game, a lot of what's left to do are the daily missions, farming materials and artifacts and events and such, which is limited on how much you can do a day, and it usually doesn't take more than 20 to 40 minutes or something like that to finish those things. And everything you do after that, be it exploration or world missions, though it can be fun, doesn't provide as much progress, so to say, as the daily missions or spending the resin will. So it becomes more of a game that you just log into, complete the daily missions, and use the resin, and then you log out again. It's probably no surprise that Genshin isn't the hardest game around, but it may surprise you how easy most of the content in the game is. There is some difficult stuff, like the Abyss, a combat mode where the floors continue to get harder, but that sort of content is not for everyone, and most people actually don't even attempt the later floors of the Abyss. Most of the game is super easy, it's no Dark Souls. Some people find it boring, I personally find it super satisfying, but definitely not difficult, so don't go into the game with an expectation of difficulty. That's not really what the game is about, it's more about exploration and puzzles, with combat as a prevalent element. The last thing to know before playing is that Genshin isn't a finished game yet. It's one of those games that releases with some content but being nowhere near finished, and then releases content as time goes on. At this moment, 5 out of the 7 nations have been released, and there's quite a lot of content in the game. But if you are one of those people who grind through games, you will get through the game's content at some point, and you will have to end up waiting for the next patch. And if you grind through the stuff in that patch quickly, you will have to wait up to multiple months for any more meaningful content to be added. That sounds pretty annoying bad, but it's not all bad, as it allows for the content being added to be polished and well thought out, and it probably more importantly allows the scope of the game to be so much larger, as they aren't bound by having to release the whole entire finished game all at once. And it makes it easier for the developers to listen to player feedback, ultimately leading to a better overall game. So yeah, that's about all I've got for now. I hope it answered some questions you had. If you're more curious about the game, I have made some other videos covering other topics in Genshin. But yeah, that's about it for now. Have a great day.